You've played for years, and it still feels harder than it should. You watch someone else play, and their hands look like they're strolling on the beach, while yours feel like they're hiking up a mountain. The effort isn't coming from your fingers, your age, or how much you do or don't practice. It's coming from how the movement is organized, and that is fixable. At some point, almost every pianist gets the same advice. Just relax. Following that advice is part of how I ended up with tendinitis in both arms. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 shifts that can change how your playing actually feels. Point 1. The arm carries the fingers. When playing is feeling hard, the instinct is to blame our fingers, so we try to strengthen them. We drill things, we do lots of exercises. So watch this. Feel how much work that took? Now watch what happens when the arm is more involved. Same notes, same tempo, and a completely different amount of effort. The difference wasn't the fingers getting stronger in the 10 seconds between those two demonstrations. It's that the arm showed up the second time. When your arm delivers each finger to the note it needs to play, your fingers can stop working like little pistons and start acting more like the last link in a chain that's already moving. And that is when the effort disappears. So if the arm carrying weight is the first piece, here's the second one, and it's one almost nobody talks about. Point 2. Release the note you already played. After you play a key, what do your fingers do next? If you're like most people, they keep working, holding notes down, hovering in the air, standing guard over a position, like they can never leave the notes that they just played or the notes might run away. Even a finger you're not using right now, say like if your pinky is curled, is quietly costing you speed and stamina. It doesn't feel like effort because it's so small and also because you're used to it, but it adds up across every measure you play. Here's a real example. In the Chopin Ballade No. 3, there's an octave with a trill on the top of it, and it's easy to play the octave and keep that thumb pressed down while you're trilling, just out of habit. And that held down thumb is exactly the kind of leftover tension we're talking about. It's small, but it's working against you. Here's a demo of an easier way. Here's an exercise that makes all of this click faster than anything else that I know. One finger on the key, and then bounce up and down on it as fast as you comfortably can. What that does is force your wrist into the right alignment, and it makes sure that your elbow is free. And it helps you feel the arm weight and the key weight working together instead of against each other. Once you feel that, you can start to recognize it in your playing, including fast repeated octaves. So that's what your fingers do after they play. Here's what your whole hand does while it's waiting. Point 3. Stillness is expensive. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught, keep a quiet hand, don't move more than you have to. So we lock into a position, thinking that stillness equals control. Try this for a second. Hold your arm straight out in front of you and freeze it there for 30 seconds. Do you notice that holding still is work? Your muscles are firing the entire time just to keep you from moving. Now let your arms swing freely at your side. No effort at all. That's the difference between a still hand that's locked in a position and an easy hand. Stillness is not neutral. It's expensive in terms of effort. And every pianist who makes it look effortless is never actually still. There's always a constant tiny motion happening under the surface. That's what ease looks like from the outside. So we've covered what fingers do and what the hand does at rest. Now let's talk about the advice that got me into real trouble. Point 4. Just relax does not work. At some point, a teacher looks at you and says, just relax. You try. It doesn't stick. And you're starting to wonder if it's just you that's the problem all along. I want to tell you what happened when I actually took that advice. I was good at relaxing. My arm went heavy. Really heavy, like dead weight hanging off my shoulder. And because the arm wasn't doing its job anymore, the fingers had to work much harder and grab onto the keys to compensate, to hold everything up that the arm had stopped carrying. I had a big concert. I felt fine the night of the concert, but I woke up the next morning and both arms were on fire. It took almost 8 months before I was pain-free, just doing nothing. I couldn't hold a milk carton. I couldn't open a doorknob. I couldn't carry a grocery bag. So If relaxing more made things worse, relaxing was never actually the answer. Here's what was really going on. Tension is the symptom. Movement organization is the cause of the problem. You don't fix a movement problem by relaxing. You fix it by re-choreographing how the parts work together. Arm, wrist, fingers, each with a job. None of them picking up slack for one that went missing. That's the idea behind everything I've shown you today. Not relaxation, choreography. Once the choreography is right, there's one more place that effort likes to hide, and that's in your own practicing. 5. Slow practice does not automatically transfer to fast playing. Here's a paradox you probably lived through without naming it. You practice something slowly and it feels great, loose, easy, in control, and then you bring it up to tempo and the tension comes right back, like it was never gone. The slow tempo is for finding the most comfortable way to play something, the version with the least effort and the best control. And once you've found that comfortable feeling, raise the tempo gradually. Your only job is to hang on to that same feeling as you speed up the tempo. Slow practice is also about giving your brain time to pay attention to what you are doing. If you practice at a tempo that you can't actually control, every single run through risks mistakes, and it definitely rehearses effort. Your body doesn't know the difference between a just practicing rep and a real repetition. It just remembers what you feed it. If you feed it 100 effortful repetitions, effort is what gets memorized. Another thing people often miss, the playing movements themselves need to be fast, even when there's a lot of space between the notes. A slow tempo with generous space between the notes lets you think ahead and practice the quick, decisive motions that will work in speed. You're not slowing the motion down, you're slowing down how often it happens. And that's really what all of this comes down to. It was never about how many years you played, how many hours you put in this week. It's about whether the movement underneath your playing is organized in a way that makes playing easy. So here's something to try today. Go back to the bouncing up and down on one key as fast as you can with one finger. But this time, I want you to try to notice 3 things. Is the arm delivering the finger to the key, or is the finger kind of going by itself at the end? Are you letting the key bring your finger back up, or are you lifting your finger up? And does the movement stay free, or does it start to lock up? That's all 5 shifts from this video in one motion. When it feels easy, that is your North Star. The moment it disappears, you've gone too fast, too soon. Go back to the tempo where it was still there and build gradually from there. So moving well fixes how playing feels. And if you've been stuck in that cycle of effort and tension, these 5 shifts are where that will change for you. But here's the thing, moving well is only half the problem. If the piece still takes forever to learn, no matter how much you practice, that is a completely different issue with a completely different fix. And it's one most pianists never find because they're still blaming themselves for not practicing enough. And that's what my next video is about. Watch it now.